You are at the 2023 Literary Web3 Conference, and this is Bootstrapping, a Web3 magazine. And we are so honored and pleased to have CD Damitio, who is the founder of Vagobond Magazine, and his panelists here to talk all about how you do this, and what this looks like. So I will leave it to you, CD, to introduce your panelists, and yeah, have a wonderful panel, everyone. And thank you so much for being here.
Bella, thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. GM. My name is CD Damitio. I'm the publisher and founder of Vagobond Magazine, and this is going to be an interesting, little bit different kind of panel. So the title of this panel is Bootstrapping Magazine and Perpetually Bringing Something from Nothing. And the first nothing that we're going to talk about is me. It's strange, but I was nothing. I was a kid that had a pretty good head on his shoulders, didn't come from money, didn't have many opportunities. I found myself getting into drugs and guns, gangs and problems. And this was in the 1990s. And I didn't know what to do with myself. I knew I was in trouble. I was smart enough to realize I had to find a way out of it. So I joined the biggest gang that I could find, the United States Marine Corps. And joining the Marine Corps was probably not the best thing for me to do. I saw the world, I saw the problems in the world, and I realized that there wasn't much I could do about it. And that's what made me so angry. I was perpetually angry. I had this anger I didn't know what to do with. Now in the Marine Corps, I had a good job. I was an air traffic controller, and people recognized that I had talent with words and writing. And I was put in charge of writing a base newsletter, which was pretty fun for me. But what was more fun for me was I took activist stickers because I was always a bit of an environmental activist and a social justice activist. And I started sticking them in different places, under the captain's garbage can, place like a Greenpeace sticker, or putting Easter eggs in the newsletter. So that was my introduction to publishing. Also my introduction to sort of saving myself the first something from nothing that we're going to talk about in this story. I'll try to keep it pretty brief. In the 90s, I really got into indie publishing and zines. And by the time that I got out of the Marine Corps, I decided I was going to move to Bellingham, Washington, which is near where I was born, and I was going to publish a zine. I got involved in radio and all kinds of media. I got involved in a lot of activism, and I listened to Jello Biafra and Michael Ferranti and Noam Chomsky, and these guys were all coming and speaking at Western Washington University in Seattle. And they were talking about taking back the media and becoming the force for good and becoming the change that we wanted to see in the world. And I said, I'm going to do it. So I had a good job at a radio station. I cashed out everything that I had, and I created my first zine, which was Conch Sense and Cascadia magazine. And I decided instead of doing a zine, I was going to do a full color glossy magazine. So I took my savings, everything that I had, and I invested it in this thing. And we were radical. Our idea was to connect community with art, with culture, with technology. We were at the very beginning of the internet. We bought a domain name. We started publishing online. We were at the forefront of publishing and technology. I got involved in the World Trade Organization protests, and we started to really give these radical stories a big view. I got involved with indiemedia.org, which was a big organization. We went to the protests in Seattle. We shut down the World Trade Organization. And a lot of my advertisers said, you're too radical for us. We can't advertise anymore. We actually had a pretty robust advertising model, but we were too radical for them. So they backed out. Without the funds, we went to sort of the photocopier zine that you would usually see as a zine instead of a full color glossy magazine. And things got really difficult. I ended up having to take a job in technology in Seattle. I worked at a company as a partner and developer in the startup world. And then the dot-com crash happened. So I went to work for Acorn, which is a big activist organization. And I became more radical, which probably wasn't a good idea. I was so radical that Acorn, a radical activist organization, told me, your techniques might be a little too radical for us. So what was I to do? Sold everything I had, and I went into blogging, which was a brand new thing that was coming. And blogging seemed to fit with Jello Biafra's idea of taking back the media. So I was going to become a blogger full time and start doing all of this stuff with blogging. I did it. I called my blog in the early 2000s terrorsuspect.com. Advertisers didn't want to touch it. Of course, it was too radical. So then I was like, I'm traveling all over the place. I'm doing it in a way that's different. I'm going to call it Vagobond. Now you know something else that came from nothing, Vagobond. And since Vagabond was taken, I thought Vagobonds always go. So we would be Vagobond.com instead of Vagabond.com. So that's what I did. And in the late 2000s, late 2000s, like 2008, I read a book called Play Money while I was studying at the University of Hawaii. And Play Money talked about digital money and this way that digital money was going to transform the world. Now, Chinese gold farmers in the game World of Warcraft were changing the economy of the world and how they were going to do it. And I said, we have to figure out a way to latch onto this. So that's where I focused. I wrote a thesis, which was on electronic anthropology, how real world friendships were going to be born from internet things, which at the time was a fairly radical idea. And I kept focusing on this idea of publishing and what we were going to do with it. And I sort of started watching cryptocurrency. Unfortunately, I didn't invest in it at that point. But I had told myself after the failure of of Conscience that I was never going to get back into publishing again. But I lied. I started a small town newspaper again. And again, with a robust ad model. Again, I got in trouble, a little bit less trouble for being radical. And then I sold it and brought my family back to Hawaii, which I had left at some point. Now, this brings us to 2018. And again, something from nothing. And I didn't realize I'm going a little longer than I intended with this, but we're getting to the crux of the story here. So in 2018, what happened was, I got involved in Litecoin. And we created some friends of mine, we created a meme coin, and it failed horribly, but I realized that there was possibilities, with this stuff, this cryptocurrency. And so I kept watching it. I got involved in the Litecoin community, Digibyte, Ravencoin. And in the 2020s, when I saw the first NFTs appear, I was like, this is what we've been waiting for. This is how we take back the media. This is how zines can move from being things that you might see at a local, band or a local pub or in a gas station somewhere. This is where we become something that they can't take away from us. They could throw away all the copies that we have, but if we're on blockchain, it's not going anywhere. I'm a writer too. I write books, and I started experimenting. I put a book on Digibyte, a book on Ravencoin, some books on Wax. And on Wax, I ran into this guy called T. Dylan Daniel, who had published, before I had, he published something on Wax, which was really cool. And I was like, I'm going to start a publishing house. So I started a company called Lit Ether, or a website, and I started exploring it. And I contacted that guy, T. Dylan Daniel, and I was like, hey, I'm going to do this thing. And he was like, oh, we should have a call. And so Dylan and I got on a call just when they were launching something called WIP Publishing, Work in Progress Publishing. I'll let him tell you about that in just a moment. But he and his co-founders were drinking a beer in Texas and celebrating the fact that they were just about ready to launch. And as we had this call, we realized we were brothers from another mother. Like, we had so much in common. We had the same ideas, the same ethics, and the same, desire to make the world a better place without having much ability to do it, without having much money or much possibilities of doing it. So Dylan said at first, he's like, why don't we just work together? This is a huge space and there's plenty of room for both of us. And I was like, okay, Lit Ether can go to the side. I'm in with WIP Publishing. And from WIP Publishing, PageDAO was born. And that's with Robbie Pollack doing so much of the dev work, so much of the creative work, Thomas Dylan Daniel. Now, once I was in there with PageDAO, that's when things started happening. We published books with README books. I put some of my books on README books, and Robbie just kept buying them, which was so cool. We developed all kinds of things, and we created the first religion to be put on chain from an NFT. And then I was like, oh, I'm having a hard time keeping up with all these projects. I'm going to break this promise to myself of not publishing a magazine again, and I'm going to start one. So it started with a newsletter. I was doing the Vagobond Daily Briefing, and then Cryptoversal Books said, I could do the book section of that if you want. And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And Cryptoversal was doing all this crazy stuff. I couldn't believe how much different stuff that he was doing. Then I needed somebody to write about PageDAO. I was like, I don't have the time to write about PageDAO, because suddenly we'd become a magazine. And I put it out in PageDAO. I need someone to write about PageDAO. And this lady named Rionna Morgan stepped up. And she's like my sister. Instantly, we connect. And she's like, I'll do it. I'll take it. She's got such positivity. So Rionna says, I'll write the PageDAO one. And before we know it, Rionna has become the senior editor of Vagobond Magazine. Cryptoversal Books has become the editor of the lit space. And then I put a call out on Greg Younger's Write 3, and I say, we need someone to provide content for us. If you have something that you'd like to provide, we'd love for you to provide that. And this wonderful person named Quanta contacted me and said, I want to write about fashion and digital fashion and the intersection of NFTs. I was like, do it. You should write about that. And Quanta came to us, and now Quanta's our fashion editor and doing these amazing things. So I've gone way over in my introduction of what I meant to say. So I want to hand it to Thomas Dylan Daniel, Epic Dylan. We just call him Dylan. And Dylan, if you can take it and tell us how you came to Web3 and a bit of your journey here, that would be super.
Hey, thanks for a lovely introduction and a great story, CD. Wow, way to set the mood. I think, yeah, I'm going to kind of wax poetic and do a little story time session myself here, because I just like that so much. And I mean, it's kind of amazing, but I had actually forgotten about the wax thing until the PageDAO show a few weeks ago. So I'm kind of like, reassembling the pieces of how everything went back then. And it's a lot. CD and I are not from positions of means in terms of our place in the world, and I don't think anybody from PageDAO really is. So we have this like extremely ambitious vision, and we're completely underfunded. And if anybody listening to this is like, wow, that sounds ridiculous, then please shoot me a DM. Maybe we need some help, but maybe we need somebody to join the organization and help raise money like from inside. Maybe we just need to meet the right investor. Doesn't matter. We're interested, and we'll talk to you if you are too. So without waxing any further poetic about where we're at today and what we're looking for and what we're trying to do as an organization, let's go back about a decade. Back then I had a career. I was a phone salesman, and I actually ran retail stores, with other people who sold phones back when the smartphones became a thing, starting in about 2010. I don't know. I had like this whole plan to become a lawyer and stuff like that before then, and it all kind of crashed to the ground in like 2009, 2008 with the financial crisis. It was a hard time to graduate college. I found my first kind of like glimmer of hope professionally in the cell phone industry. And that lasted for about 3 years. And then I left what was otherwise like a reasonable career, if not like the most promising one in the world, to go back to grad school. And so I went and, I entered a Master of Arts in Applied Philosophy and Ethics program at Texas State University in 2013. And I studied my ass off for like 3 years. Published a bunch of stuff, worked really hard, to try to become a scholar, and then didn't get into any PhD programs that I had applied to. And that's important because I'm from Texas. So like, if I'm going to be, picking up and going somewhere that, is more favorable to the academic philosophy type of dude that I am, I need financial assistance to do that. And so if I don't get into a PhD program, I don't have that. So I can't move. So I'm kind of stuck. And I ended up teaching for a little while. Didn't work very well. I made like, it was comical. I was making like $12,000 a year or something. And so like I would Uber for like the week of South by Southwest and make more money than I could make, in a whole semester of teaching a college level class, which I just found ridiculous. And so, I left that and I went into R&D, and R&D is what I do now. It's what I've done ever since. It's kind of like my superpower is that I can read, like advanced technical language. I can become familiar with the jargon. I can make predictions in line with the scientific theories and such. And so that's a skill set that I've learned during, this whole kind of failed academic pursuit of trying to get like a PhD and be a professor and teach people philosophy, because that was the life that I wanted, right? And I just don't get what I want very often in a lot of ways. So there's that, right? And there's just like this element of tragedy to all this. I started this biotech company in 2018. We raised like $2 million. We built a lab. We ran all these experiments. If you ever want somebody to talk to about biophysics or colloidal chemistry, hit me up. I've read all the literature. I know exactly how that stuff works. I mean, I can answer questions like nobody's business in that field. But, my degree is in applied philosophy and ethics. So it's kind of like this thing where I just have to wear this like Swiss Army knife, like R&D hat, because, otherwise nothing makes sense. Like I'm an alien in terms of like the bureaucratic stuff that there is in the world, and that makes my life really tough. So 2019, the startup breaks up, nothing's working. I find Cent though online, CENT, beta.cent.co. It's a social media network. Cam Hijazi runs it. I get on there. I start writing. I've been a writer. I published my first poem in 2010. And I've been publishing, I've done, I think, 8 books to date, over 200 articles. One of my books is peer reviewed. A number of my articles have been peer reviewed. I write bios in Philosophy Now magazine with some regularity. Anyway, so basically for 2020, I pretty much kind of struggled through, but I met 2 important people. I met Easy in Crypto, and I met my man Robbie Pollock, who is coming up next. And basically the quick progression of things that happened from there was we started a project codenamed Alexandria. Amelie Lasker from Alexandria Labs obviously had the same idea. I think that's why we're such good friends now. So we started as Alexandria. We pivoted to this idea that we called the LibraNet. We started WIP Publishing in early 2021 when we were in the Media Tech Ventures Accelerator program. And then in July of 2021, we launched the PageDAO, which is this organization that has survived so much hardship, that has accomplished so much despite so little resources, and that has banded together the most brilliant people I've ever met on my journey on this earth into this organization that can accomplish these things against impossible odds regularly, without fail. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, it's been a struggle. I think it was worth it. Yeah, I'll go ahead and yield the mic and yield the floor to one of the most impressive people I've ever met, Mr. Robbie Pollock, ladies and gentlemen.
Impressive until you realize you didn't do your mic check. Hi, everybody. I'll be brief. I'm Robbie. I'm honored to be here. I know a lot of the panelists so far, just from the Web3 space, from following it so closely. I'm kind of like an old school dev. I worked for a lot of big banks in the early 2000s and hedge funds and so forth. And I used to do like quantitative analysis stuff. And I kind of fell off the scene for a while and then got rekindled into being interested in Ethereum and smart contract development. I also found the Cent platform by Cam Hijazi, and I was like, oh, people are posting and getting paid in crypto. What a cool way to like spread the poetry that I've been seeing in the underground in my day job, which helps people who are less frequently heard get publishing opportunities. And I was like, maybe this could be a cool thing to investigate. And so I ran into Dylan. I saw he was writing about philosophy. I was like, oh, yes, let's talk philosophy in this day and age. Something's got to save us from the madness. And so we started banging out some tech, just really rude form. One of the panelists in the last session mentioned, just build, even when you're not sure what you're doing. And so that's what we did. We started WIP publishing with a beta of how to mint a book on chain, and we're like one of the first on-chain set of books is in our WIP publishing Genesis edition. Then we decided to build an open minter to help other people be able to mint interactive NFT books on chain, and that was really cool. We did a lot of experimentation with a lot of failure, and I was super excited when I saw the first edition of CD's magazine appear. I felt like it represented the best of it was everything that I had wanted to build this technology for. It was bringing together multiple people from multiple backgrounds, multiple geographic locations, and creating this incredible archive of a nascent space. And I'm just so happy to be a part of it. I'm supposed to introduce somebody, but of course, like I didn't prep properly because that's how I am. But I think I get the honor of introducing another PageDAO member, Cryptoversal, who also pioneered the early ebook space. And a lot of our tech actually was built by answering loudly yelled demands by Cryptoversal and CD. I say that jokingly. Cryptoversal, if you're here, please definitely hop on.
See, I got a screen that's not me, but here I am. Thanks, Robbie. Can you hear me? Am I on? Okay. Yeah, I'm Greg. I am the founder of Cryptoversal Books. Robbie said it in a nice way, but really it was me asking a lot of questions like, would it be possible to do this? What about this? Could we do this? And that really reflects a lot of what I'm excited about in this space. It takes me back to middle school when I discovered that you could log on to a computer and the computer could log on to a network of computers, and you could communicate with people and interact with them, and you could write stories and share them, and they could add on to it, and you could collaborate, and you could all come up with something crazy that you could never do before alone. And sort of since then, it's been an expanding journey of what can you do in a magazine space? What if in college I edited a magazine, and we had contributors for stories and art, and we had Isaac Asimov wrote something for us, and we got a piece from Buzz Aldrin at one point. And it was really exciting that I could say that I edited Buzz Aldrin and Isaac Asimov, and we put out magazines, and I was continuing to work with communities online and putting out. We did a shared world anthology, Starship Aletheia, and it was like, what if Star Trek, but absolutely bonkers off the wall. And it was so much fun, and the whole publishing industry moved digital, and I kind of got to experience that of books becoming ebooks, and the first revolution of the web, and things going online, and the development of the internet, and then there's this Web3, and so Web 1, Web 2, Web 3. It's been an evolution, and it continues to be an evolution, and that's why I really wanted to be involved with it, because it's very exciting to be in a space that's evolving from one of these iterations to another. And I was very interested in the technology, and when I jumped in and started looking around, and specifically for books, there seemed to be a fork in the road for me personally. There seemed to be two kinds of communities, and one was, what can we do to build the hype and go to the moon and flip these things? And then there was another group that was, what can we do to tell stories and build communities and leverage the technology? And that was what Whip Publishing and what Dylan and Indefatigable and PageDAO was doing. And that's the direction that really appealed to me. And I went all in on that and started asking my questions of, what if I want to put a Gutenberg Bible on blockchain? How do I do that? Can we do that? And amazingly, like a miracle, it happened. And a big credit to Robbie, and big credit to PageDAO, that they made that possible, and then built on top of that, because everything you do creates another question of, okay, now what's next? What can I do next? What can I do bigger? What can I do better? What can I do that's broader and could go to more people, or last longer, or be more secure, or be easier to work with? And it's just this development stages, this cycles, this flywheels. And it's really exciting, and it brings me back to my magazine roots with Vagobond Magazine, because I was editing magazines in college, and I had at one point a publishing venture, Mythic Heroes, and we put out a nationally published, internationally actually, magazine about mythology and modern mythology and what that looks like, and that it went for a few issues. It put me in debt, and I had to dig out of that hole for a while, But all that during that time, I was following further developments and things that were going on. And this iteration, this Web3 magazine, is something that CD has. I don't know how he's managed to make it happen and make it as amazing as it is. And I'm just thrilled to be part of it. And to be able to do. I said, I'd like to do the lit space. I'd like to be the literary editor because it'll give me an excuse to talk to the creators in the space and say, what are you working on? Maybe I can share that with the world through Vagobond Magazine. Write up a little something about what you're doing, and then we'll all be able to benefit from it. Everyone in the space will be able to further the space just by spreading information. And I think that's really the best thing that Vagobond Magazine is doing and has done, just bringing everyone in the space together, and then advancing everyone's best practices. So that's my goal personally for my section that I'm doing. And helping out on that is Rionna Morgan. I think am I introducing Rionna, or am I introducing Quanta? Okay. So what's been fascinating for me is, in addition to what's happening in the literary spaces, there are so many other spaces, and one of them is Web3 fashion, which I wouldn't have thought could be a thing, but it's just fascinating to read about and to watch, and to see what Quanta's been doing in Quanta's section of the magazine, and so. I'm very interested in the journey that they took to get to that space.
Hi, and thank you for having me in this space. Actually, thank you for having me on board the magazine. Web3 fashion, Web3 fashion, I think has been the best thing that's happened to me. I'll start right back from when I graduated from design school, and my graduating project. So we had to put a proposal to our mentor as this is what I'm presenting as my collection, and I was the only one to present something that was absolutely not sellable. It was completely design based. It was very futuristic. Nobody can wear it on the streets. And the response that I got was, why are you doing this? So, questioning fashion, I started questioning the rules or the lines of fashion right from when I graduated in late 90s. And my journey after that was I worked with a few designers for almost a decade, and I got my grounding with these. They were luxury designers, high-end couture designers, and then I started my own design studio. But throughout all this, for I think it's been over 20 years now. The rules of fashion haven't changed. Fashion still, every year, every season, people get excited about a new fashion. But the thing is that it's very linear. The only thing that would change would be colors or prints or styles. But what's happening right now is a complete revolution. The fashion is not just restricted to physical clothing. It's gone beyond. It's gone way beyond because it's addressing our identity, which is also, it is built into the virtual world. We are not confined in a physical space anymore. And I think that is something that is the biggest part of the revolution. And right now, what's happening is we are trying to integrate physical and the virtual fashion together. What Web3 fashion does right now, which I felt was lacking in traditional fashion, is that it encourages creativity, it encourages creators. In traditional fashion, it is very difficult to break into this fashion space if you are not well known, if you're not established. And here what's happening in Web3 is that people who are talented can get on board. Anybody can get on board from any part of the world. And that is why I find this so exciting, because it's inclusive. It doesn't sideline anybody. You don't need, you don't need contacts to get forward. You just need your talent. And also, I think that it is, it's very forward thinking. It is not, we are not, so there is, how do I explain this? In traditional fashion, we think about the way things were, but in Web3 fashion, we think about the way things will be. And we are working towards a future which we are talking about something like a better world. It's not just about fashion. It's about our lifestyle. The biggest thing is about sustainability, where traditional fashion contributes to such a huge, it makes such a huge impact on the pollution. But with digital fashion, it's like, I think it's about 99% of the carbon footprint. It takes care of that. I mean, so I think sustainability is one of the huge factors. Like as a traditional designer, I've literally been screaming hoarse to my clients, don't chuck your garments, wear them. I mean, I get orders from people who are, they're like, okay, I need to wear this just once. I can't wear it again. It is such a waste. Even when I was working with designers, we would make samples, hundreds of samples for a collection of 20 that would go on the runway. But here with digital fashion, that is not so. So I got introduced to Web3 fashion last year. I was studying some of the projects, and I came across World of Women. There was a contest that they held with the Fabricant, where it was about designing textiles. And I participated in that. So I got introduced to the Fabricant, and chatting on their Discord, I realized all these points that matter to me: sustainability, inclusivity, how expansive it is, giving recognition to the creators. And that's it. I've just like moved over to Web3 fashion. I still have my fashion house, but I've become very selective in terms of what I create. And so right now in Web3 fashion, I want to be a voice I want to be the voice of the creators who are in this, who are building this space. And I started writing about fashion, Web3 fashion on Medium. And I came across CD's proposal looking for some write-ups on Web3 articles. And I was like, will fashion do? And he said, yeah, sure. Like, send me what you're talking about, And I think it went from there. And I can't say, I mean, I'm so happy that I'm part of Vagobond Magazine, because it's not because it is a publication where I can put forth my work, but I think like the ethos of both of Web3 fashion and Vagobond Magazine are so similar. Like when I'm talking about inclusivity, both of them encourage creators and creativity. Both of them have an expansive outlook towards, Vagobond Magazine looks to encompassing everything about Web3 creatives, And Web3 fashion encompasses like this digital and this digital and this AR and metaverse fashion. They are both forward-thinking models, and they both believe in giving credit to the creators. And this is what is like, you know, I mean, I feel like, yes, this is the place for Web3 fashion. So I'm so happy to be here, and yeah, and I hope to be able to, you know, I hope to spread more about Web3 fashion through this magazine to encourage people. Thank you so much. I'm going to hand over this to the mic to Rionna.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rionna Morgan. It's so nice to be here with all of you and hear more of your stories. And if I didn't love you before, I love you so much more now. So I want to introduce a little bit and say who I am, and then talk about my journey to being here with you all. So I am a literary NFT author. I'm a writer, a poet, a novelist. I'm senior editor of Vagobond Magazine. I'm founder and creator of the Roving with Rionna show, the Craft of Writing online series. I'm author and founder of the 7 Love Stories collaboration collection and community. I'm co-host of the Page Dow show. My Web3 work is published with Readle, Vagobond Magazine, Soultype, Book Volts, and Cretokia. I'm also a traditionally published romantic suspense novelist with Simon & Schuster. In addition, I'm a practicing lawyer and former English teacher professor. And my background, when you guys were talking about your stories and where you came from, and I'm just smiling about mine because when in 1988 I was editor for the literary magazine in my middle school, and I got paid $20. And so I was so excited when I got that money, and that it made what I was dreaming about seem like a reality, like seemed like something I could actually do. And so that I never even cashed that check. It's still just in my, bag of things that are precious to me. But what it represented was this future. And so I began there in 1988, publishing my first things, reading my first articles, being editor and writer and helper and educator. I began the journey to here with all of you. And so I became an English teacher because I wanted to be a writer. And I published my first everything out there in the world when I was going to school to be a teacher. And I actually paid for my college education by being a poet and short story writer. Anyway, and so I just am so amazed at how our stories align in some ways and how we were always looking for each other. We were always looking for a place that is like this, a place that we can build from here. And I know that CD is always saying, oh, I wish I could pay you. I wish I could pay you. And I, of course, lovely. That's a lovely sentiment. But I would do this. I am doing this because I love it and because I want to be part of this innovative renaissance that's happening. And I want to be part of the change we all want to see in the world. And I want to be part of the movement of love first, care first, build together first. And that all is just so important to me. And you all here on this panel with me are so important to me. And the world that we're building with Vagobond Magazine is beautiful. And Bella, I saw, please add more sneak peeks from Vagobond Magazine. I definitely will. It is a beautiful issue. And I just Yes, second renaissance. Yes, definitely. Definitely, definitely. The very first moment I bought my first NFT and saw what was going on, I was like, this is it. This is it. This is the next renaissance. This is amazing. And so, because I was an English teacher and I love literature and all of that. And so um, thank you all so much for having me, and thank you for letting me tell a little bit of my story. And I want to zoom back and focus a little bit on Vagabond Magazine because there are so many things that are coming around the bend. And so I want to send it back to CD and let him talk a little bit about the things that he's dreaming about. And so CD, what do you see happening with Vagabond Magazine maybe in the next 6 months, 12 months?
Wow, you know, just listening to you guys' stories, I'm my heart is like exploding in the best possible way, because in the real world, we'd all be working against each other, or we never would have met, or we never would have encountered each other. And the fact that we're all here on this stage working on so many different things together just blows my mind. And that's sort of the whole point, really, of Vagabond Magazine. The whole point is that we want publishing to create opportunities for people to meet, to connect, and to share their view and to share their dreams. So in the next 6 months, we're gonna have a few really interesting things going on. First of all, I was always jealous of teachers. I was the teacher. I worked as an English teacher for a while, but I was jealous of teachers having the summer off in traditional schools. And I always thought that's a model everybody should have. We should just have like a season where nobody works and everybody gets to work on their passions. So with Vagabond Magazine, we have a unique publishing schedule that we've adopted. And that is that our January issue is moving forward going to be a January and February issue combined. And we take the 2 summer months of June and July, and we don't publish during those months so that we can explore other things and do other things. So a little bit of what we've got going on is that. But to look forward to that, we are exploring interactivity on a level that that no publication has ever done before. And that's one of the things that we're going to be doing over the summer. I don't want to give too much of it away, but we want you to be able to jump into the magazine and actually interact with the articles and the things that you're seeing and the people who are writing them. So we want to create an interactivity. We don't think that a magazine should be something that you just hold in your lap and read. We think it should be something that you open up and jump into, and actually that you are immersed in. So that's probably the most exciting thing. In May, we have a fashion issue coming. Our Vagabond Magazine, we follow a loose theme structure. And in May, we have a focused fashion issue, which is being led by Quanta, and I'm so excited about that. You know, Rionna and I are both going to be at NFT NYC. We're going to be making the rounds and hopefully making lots of connections and new friends and bringing lots of new people in. And we have to keep our minds open to new things and to bringing in new things. So we don't know exactly what the future is going to be. But what I can tell you right now is we're working on immersiveness. We've got this amazing fashion issue coming, fashion-focused issue. It won't be just fashion, of course, coming up. We've got a few editors that we've been talking with that we're talking about bringing in new sections of the magazine to cover things. And then our August issue will be focused on travel. And that maybe is one of the things that I should go into a little detail on, is that what we want Vagabond Magazine to be ultimately is an incubator for other magazines. We want people who have this idea of like creating a magazine like Cryptoversal did to be able to bring their zine idea, their magazine idea to Vagabond to publish a section, and then eventually we want them to launch off, to leave the nest and to publish their own magazine. We want to be the launch pad for all kinds of magazines, all kinds of voices, all kinds of ideas and activism. We want voices that wouldn't normally be heard to have a chance to say what they're saying. And when I say that, like what kind of voices, I think back to a few months ago, I guess it was last year in 2022, Bored Apes, where everybody loves Bored Apes. You're not allowed to say anything bad against Bored Apes. And there was this lady who came on a space that was like, she's like, Bored Apes are racist. And we were like, what? And she was like, bored apes are racist. And I was like, you should write an article about that and bring it to Vagobond Magazine. And she did. And we have that in one of our back issues, which are all available to read through README books on, you can read them on OpenSea. And she did. And it was a great article. And it was a really counterpoint to what people are really thinking about. So we want to have magazines within magazines. We want to create a decentralized publishing and media empire that isn't owned by Rupert Murdoch. That's owned by the people who are actually creating it. That's another thing that we have on the horizon. But I think I've veered off from your question a little bit, Rionna.
No, you did great. I think that that kind of vision is amazing. I think that talking about all of the different people and the philosophy and the foundation that we have, that will just make the process of it and how we move from where we are, which is an amazing place, to all of the other amazing places we will go, and all the other people that we get to bring in and have join us on this journey, and that it truly is the place that we are wanting it to be, that it is inclusive and it does hear all voices and it does give room for a home for people's ideas and ideals and the things that they are passionate about. So no, I think you did a great job. Anyway, and so then do we want to pause, open it up for questions, or do we want to talk about like the big vision about a Vagobond magazine, or what are you thinking, CD? Or does anybody else want to jump in and give some follow-up thoughts on what they've been thinking about?
I
Yes,
see.
please.
I don't know if I'm in this. Bella's got her hand up, so I'm pointing
Yes,
to where she is on my screen.
Please, Bella.
Did you listen to all of this amazing like convergence of literally something from nothing coming together? Like Vagobond Magazine is like a perfect use case for even what we were talking about in the panel prior about community and disruption and opportunity, and then what we're going to go into with ownership economy, right? And you giving this not just permission through Vagobond, but giving this platform for people to come to and you know, express themselves and to grow themselves, which is exactly, again, what we were talking about and what people have been, you know, discussing as such a prominent part of Web3, like passion, right? And I was so lucky to be able to curate this conference because I met so many of you writing my own paper for my own academic institution about literary Web3, because it's become such a prominent area of innovation and ideas. But you know what has just been presented here is just such an amazing use case for it. So my question is, because you know the panel was about bootstrapping a magazine, it seems like you've not just taken that from all of your experiences about how to create something from nothing and recognizing that within Web3, but now you've created or are creating a platform for other people to come on board and do that. So my question is, like, what is their entry point right now with everybody, with anybody on the panel, with Vagobond, because we're recording this and we're going to put it out so that more and more voices and people can hear it and become a part of it. So we want to make sure that we're allowing everybody to open it up, you know, for participation with other parties. How is that happening right now? Thank you.
That's a great question. Thank you for asking it. Yeah, so we are open to anyone submitting proposals for articles. We are open for pitches. You can go to vagobond.com or vagobondmagazine.com, excuse me, and that's go, not ga, so VAGO, bondmagazine.com, and you can submit your pitches. We have a button there that you can click. You can also come into the Vagobond Magazine Discord and pitch to us. You can pitch to myself, Rionna, Cryptoversal, or Quanta via Twitter, DMs. We are open to all pitches, and generally, as long as it, we have one philosophical standby that we stick to, which comes from a Baldism, which is don't be a dick. As long as you're not being a dick, we will probably publish your voice. You know, we want to see original work, we want to see quality work, and we also want to see interesting work that talks about what's important to you as a writer and as a producer, as a creative. You know, a big mission with Vagobond is teaching and onboarding. We want to onboard the world, and we want to be able to hopefully create opportunities for people, especially for emerging writers, artists, projects, and ideas. So if any of that applies, send us a pitch. We'd love to have you on. Now, as Rionna mentioned, we are bootstrapping from nothing at the moment. And so what we are able to give is we're able to share royalties on, you know, with our Readle, when we publish on Readle, we share royalties with every contributor to every issue. So if you're a contributor to an issue, the royalties are shared with you. We share 3 magazines with every contributor. So our ethos is we give one to you to keep, one for you to share. You know, here, Mom, here's a magazine, and one for you to sell or to give away to spread the word. So that's what we're trying to do. So we sometimes have people come to us that say, I'd like to get paid this much for this. We're not at that point yet. We hope to be that way. We're building hopefully a robust advertising model that will eventually be able to pay all of our amazing editors, writers, designers, and creatives. But at the moment, we pay with what we can, and that's part of having an infinite runway, so that we're not beholden to you know, have to pay the bills and have to fold at the end.
I can jump in here really quick and say in the room chat, I put the submission to Vagobond Magazine Google link. It's just a place where you can go in and fill in what you would like to submit. And then I put my email there, senior.editor@Vagobond Magazine. And then Thomas Dylan Daniel put the web address for Vagobond Magazine as well. So yes, please, we're on. So maybe it would be good if we talked a little bit about how to find each of us. So I'm Rionna Morgan. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and I was a traditionally published author, so I'm literally everywhere. Website, RionnaMorgan.com. Anyway, and so please, I will pause, and CD, I'm going to jump back to you. You let everybody know where they can find you, because we do want you to reach out. We want to help. And CD and Thomas Dylan Daniel, Epic Dylan, be sure to tell them about Page Dow, where they can find you.
Hey, of course. Thank you. Yes, by all means, everybody go check out pagedow.org while you're going and scoping out all these websites. We're pretty stoked about Vagobond Magazine and the success that we've seen with the effort so far. And I just can't wait to see, you know, how things continue to grow from here. So, yeah, that's what we got.
And if you want to contact me, I'm pretty easy to find. If you use any social media, you can usually find me with VAGOBOND @Vagobond, whether it's Twitter or Facebook, Instagram, any of that stuff. @Vagobond is me. And also Vagobond Magazine, and then vagobond.com as well. And if you want to email me, it's CD, Creative Director Christopher Damitio, or CD, like a CD Vagobond, at vagobond.com or vagobondmagazine.com. Anyone else want to jump in and give their socials? We're just about out of time. And also I see, Josh, you're on the stage. Do you want to jump on?
Josh is in for the next panel, which is coming in a couple of minutes. So,
Hi. Am I on?
You're on.
Yeah. Hi. So you could get in touch with me on Twitter. I'm at Fontana, or you could I'll post it in the group chat. You could send me an email on at fashion.editor@vagobondmagazine.com.
And I can be found at cryptoversalbooks.io. I can be found on Twitter at cryptoversalbks, by email at cryptoversalbks@gmail.com. And I'm looking for reviews of literary NFTs, articles about literary NFTs, and through Cryptoversal Books, I am looking for books to turn into literary NFTs.
And just to wrap up, I'm going to say I absolutely love these people on this panel. And I've met a few of you in the audience as well. And I hope to meet a few more of you in the next week. Rionna and I will be doing a panel at NFT NYC with Ed Carpenter and Greg Younger. And we hope to meet a lot of you there and to share this journey with you and be a part of your journey as well. One last thing that I'll throw out is that, Bella, this has been a fantastic experience for us. I think I can speak for everybody here. And we so appreciate you and putting this together. And thank you.